The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325x your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com first-time deposit offer up to $250 in cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And it is showtime here. Once again, back on the college baseball experience. What's going on, everybody? It's Noah Bieniek, the host for today, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Jake Fetner of CBS Sports and Sportsline. Jake, big-time college baseball fan as well. Another young guy with me in this space covering this great game and continuing to, one, grow the game of college baseball, but two, grow the betting side of it. And you do tremendous work over there. Jake, how are you doing tonight? I can't wait till we get into previewing tomorrow's games because you are a Florida Gator fan, and we'll be able to get kind of your passion and your knowledge to be able to shed through on your team here. But how are you doing tonight after we just saw two really good games today?
Yeah, it was really good games. I'm glad I got to watch that because I've been overseas. I've been in Europe playing golf, struggling to play golf, might I add. The courses were a lot prettier than my game. I'll say that for sure. But I mean, there was some fun games, and there were some fun games to start the College World Series. Like I will say that I just couldn't stay up yesterday after about 24 hours of travel to watch my Gators lose in heartbreaking fashion. I set alarms just to stay up. I set an alarm for the fifth inning, the sixth inning, and I just couldn't make it. So as big of a fan as I am, I blame the rain. I blame the rain delay. I would have stayed up if it weren't for that, but it was a bit of a rough time.
It was a valiant effort for sure. We understand the effort that you put in because, I mean, the sleep schedule over there in Europe is probably 5-6 hours different than here Eastern time zone that we both are. And I know you're probably already pretty tired here getting ready for another work day tomorrow for sure. We'll recap today's games to start, and then I do want to kind of pick your brain on kind of what you currently do with CBS Sports and Sportsline over there. But I mean, the first game of the day took place with the Florida State Seminoles, your beloved fan base's arch rival there. They move on, they win their elimination game. Hopefully, the Gators follow suit here on Monday afternoon. But Florida State builds an early lead, holds off Virginia late. What was your takeaways from this game and another year with Virginia going 2-barbecue in the College World Series?
Yeah, Virginia's offense just hasn't carried into the College World Series in the last couple of years. I was just really impressed with Carson Dorsey. How can you not be impressed with him?
Yeah,
he's a JUCO transfer. He struggled a little to start the season and now the bullpen, and then when he became the starter, he's just gotten better as the season's gone on. I think Link Jarrett, I heard them talking in an interview. He said that at his best, he's comparable to Jamie Arnold, and that's true. And he's a fun pitcher. I think he's probably a top 5 round pitcher, right? Or where would you? I don't know about. I haven't heard much about his draft perspective.
Neither have I really.
But yeah, he's a sneaky one where you don't hear much about him, but a team takes him in the 4th and 5th round, and depending on the team and the development, he could be in the majors pretty soon.
He has built some really good momentum here in the postseason. All 3 NCAA tournament starts have been tremendous for Dorsey, and honestly, he's been able to keep the Seminoles team afloat. They had 2 starting pitcher injuries throughout the season. Dorsey stepped up into that number 2 role. That's a big reason why the Seminoles were, 8th in the country, national seed entering the NCAA tournament, and also a good part in why they're here in Omaha currently. Also, I have to bring up Jaime Ferrer.
Oh, yeah.
He's now got 3 home runs here in 2 games in the College World Series. and he's been raking over the last 2 weekends. So he's been a huge piece of this offense as well. That's another very powerful offense, and I think we're going to get somewhat of a similar matchup in Florida State's next game against North Carolina that they just had against Virginia. North Carolina, a very good and powerful offense throughout the regular season. In the postseason, they've won a bunch of low-scoring, tight, late-inning games, and we haven't seen that, offense that we saw in the regular season putting up double-digit runs every single game like we've been accustomed to. So this North Carolina offense, slumping a little bit, has flown under the radar because they were just winning games in the NCAA tournament. But now it's kind of coming to light here as they only put one across on Tennessee against Drew Beam, who looked in it today. He had some extra oomph in his fastball. It was up to 3 miles an hour in some spots. He was touching 96 tonight, which was great for him. And honestly, just the adrenaline, that's 2 nights in a row that we've seen a starting pitcher just be able to bring it, as we saw last night with Liam Peterson was pumping it in there really good. But yeah, Tennessee, I don't know how you can't be sold on this team. I mean, they're hitting bombs out of this park too. That was the big question on them. And also Beam had struggled in his recent starts, and he looked dominant tonight. Tennessee
looked 33 pitches after 4 innings. I
know.
had to double check his pitch count because
And
he was just mowing through it the first 4 innings.
Correct. And the unfortunate part about it was because the umpire was so the home plate umpire left the game due to a concussion, and it was like a 15-minute delay, and Tennessee was hitting. So Drew Beam runs out to the bullpen using bullets just to stay warm. He only had 74 official pitches. I didn't catch that final pitch count, but it was no more than 80. But I mean, he threw probably 15, 20 in the bullpen in between the stoppage and then while Tennessee was hitting. So I just feel bad for Beam, because he was dealing, but Tennessee is still march along there. Your kind of broad takeaway from Tennessee, North Carolina tonight?
I was a little nervous that Tennessee wasn't going to get their offense going just because they've had so much hype, but they've had no problem getting it going. North Carolina, when they win, they're going to win in a 3-2 game, and that's the thing that scares you early in the ballgame. Tennessee's not hitting, but as soon as Tavares Harris hit that home run, you kind of saw that they're starting to get some good at bats going, that they were going to end up winning that game. I got some live bets in that game as soon as they started putting together some longer at bats against Shea Spray. It looked pretty good early in the game, but I mean, Tennessee, I'm looking at all those tickets I have on Tennessee, and I'm really liking what I have.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, you and I have been DMing back and forth on college baseball for about 2.5, 3 years now. And this is honestly your first, I guess, official one-on-one that we've had on this show. We've talked about it, tried to schedule multiple times, and it just wasn't able to work, and by both of our schedules. But I've never really been able to, have you be able to shed light on what you're doing in the college baseball space, because it's truly trailblazing in my opinion. Some other people are now putting out some models, but you were kind of the first of the game, my brother. You kind of just, what gave you the inspiration to do it? I know you went and did some extra schooling as well to learn how to do this. So you working over there at CBS and Sportsline, just kind of tell the people about what you do with college baseball right now.
Yeah, so at CBS Sports, my team is in charge of all the Sportsline projections that you see for college football, college basketball, MLB, NFL, hockey, NHL, and that's mostly my boss's models and algorithms that we have going on there. We control all the fantasy projections you see. So you play CBS fantasy football, you see a quarterback projected for 17.8 fantasy points. That's our team building those projections. We use Monte Carlo simulations to build those. And I've always been a big SEC sports fan. My whole family went to University of Florida. I went to the University of Florida. Then after I was actually pre-dental throughout college. I was planning to be a dentist. I think I would be graduating dental school right about now, until I got an internship with CBS Sports, and they hired me right then after my junior year. And so I finished up, and I really just got into the analytics behind sports. And I got my master's at University of Mississippi. Ole Miss is their I don't know what the acronym's called, but it's pretty much predictive analytics for sports. And I noticed that not a lot of people had college baseball models. And me and John Boldman, my former coworker, were always betting on college baseball. And we're like, there's not that many models out there for college baseball. So I started collecting all the game data. I'm learning right now. I know Matt Grissom, they at their team at CBI College Baseball Insiders. They pull all the data from NCAA. I'm learning to do that right now. I'm hoping to build a similar model that we use for Sportsline for college baseball. But right now, over the last 3 years, I've collected 6,200 games of data, and all manually collected.
Yeah.
The pitching data, the lines, and just put the scores, the errors, the hits, the runs, and I use a resampling model where I just resample everything to build my model.
It's outstanding work, and just your dedication to it was outstanding. Because when you told me that, like, hey, I'm you were like, I'm either deploying or I'm introducing this new model, and this was like back in 2023 or 22, I can't remember, but it was in early February. And I also remember that same year you're like, hey, this Caglianone dude, keep an eye on him. He's hitting balls at exit velocities in the mid one teens. Like, this kid's going to be legit. And
yeah, last year before the season started, I
yeah.
saw Gator practice. So my girlfriend was still living in Gainesville back then. She was finishing school, and I went to some of the scrimmages, and the balls that he was hitting, I was like, why aren't people watching this guy a little bit more? And I know Nick Delatorre, Gator Insider, was tipping some people off, but once I saw it for myself, I'm like, I think he hit 3 home runs, like 5 at bats, and I'm like, uh-oh. And so I put a little for him to win the Golden Spikes last year. He was up there, but
Yeah.
that's when I first saw it for myself, and it was fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about him because he's going to be on the mound here for Monday afternoon's game. But before we get to that, let me talk to you guys about, the countdown to football season is on, and SGPN has you covered with the college football experience, doing individual team previews for every single college football team in Division One. In FBS, we're also mixing in some FCS team previews and some conference previews on the FCS college football experience. Plus, SGPN's 5-minute fantasy football is your quick and dirty podcast to get you prepped for all things fantasy. Speaking of fantasy, the college baseball experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, where their pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create entries up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex your entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part is that you can win up to 325x your original amount. You can use these specials, and you can use specials and boosts in your flexed entries now. So don't miss your chance to get or try it before it's gone. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. Okay, we're back here on the college baseball experience. I totally blanked on looking at Underdog Fantasy to see if we have any college baseball. We do not have any college baseball player projections at the current moment. Actually, no, that's false. We do have for both games, so that should be fun. I'll take a look at this while I talk to Jake here as well. Game 1 between Florida and NC State. The Gators are favored minus 135. The Wolfpack are plus 105. We're still waiting on totals and run lines over here at DraftKings, kind of the originators for us on the market. Like I mentioned, Jac Caglianone going to be on the mound for Florida. Junior left-handed pitcher, 5-2 on the year, 4.71 ERA, 82 strikeouts, 48 walks, and 72.2 innings with a 4.08 SIERA. However, in his last 3 starts, all postseason. So, actually, no, not all postseason. It was his last start in Gainesville in his career, and then the first 2 NCAA tournament starts. He has a 7.62 ERA in his last 3 starts here. NC State, we don't have a great feeling, or at least I don't have a great feeling. Caglianone, we know, is throwing. They've come out and said that. Dom Fritton or Logan Whitaker is going to get the ball here for NC State. Fritton is a sophomore lefty. 3-5 with a 6.57 ERA, but his last 5 starts have been rough. 8.36 ERA there. Logan Whitaker, senior right-handed pitcher, has actually been the better pitcher as of late. Looked pretty good against Georgia last weekend. He has a 5.03 ERA in his last 5 starts on the season. It's a 6.06 ERA, but he's kind of battled injury and missed a couple of starts. Lost 30 pounds throughout the season with the illness that he had. So yeah, the bullpens here, quick check on this. Liam Peterson threw 64 pitches. So that I think is an interesting note because Sam Heifel threw deep in NC State's first game. But Peterson, if they win this game, he could probably come back and throw on Monday. You would like to think after only 64. Fisher Jameson is probably not going to be seen here on Monday. Cade Fisher only threw 3 pitches. He's going to be fine. Brandon Neely only threw 23. He's going to be good. And NC State's pen's going to be fully rested for this one, you'd like to think as well. Jacob Duden, 18 pitches. Derek Smith, 29 pitches. All right, Jake, your Gators, our Gators, but they're more your Gators. I mean, they're your diehard team. I still have Michigan up here. Kind of take us through what's been the magic for Florida over the last, 5 weeks, honestly, where they finished the SEC regular season winning a tough clutch series against Georgia. SEC tournament, they go one and done. They're sitting on the hot seat to get in the bubble in the NCAA tournament. Turns out they're not even one of the last 4 teams in. Then they go on a little bit of a run after falling in the losers bracket in the Stillwater Regional. They sweep Clemson in the Super Regional. Here in the College World Series, they lose game 1, a really tight game against Texas A&M, where there was somebody posted on Twitter 3 different pictures, probably a total of 9 inches, that determined 4 runs. Mm-hmm. Jake, kind of walk us through what's the story been on Florida and kind of your takeaways on this team as they enter this NC State game.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to credit this team for making it this far. They went 28-27. A lot of people think they shouldn't have made it, but they had the number 1 strength of schedule. You kind of have to throw away the midweek games because they threw 9 freshman pitchers and really solely didn't care about the midweek games.
Yeah,
you could tell. And then people, they were one and done in the SEC tournament, and you kind of throw that away because they started Pierce Coppola. And if they really wanted to win that game, they probably would have started Liam Peterson. I think after winning that Georgia series, I think Soley was like, I think we're in. He had a good idea that they were in. It was a smart idea to rest their pitchers in that game. And like, I know you said that you had all this data. Teams who go one and done or do a lot better than teams who go far in the SEC tournament, especially.
I didn't run through and go back at it, but you look at it. Florida's here, College World Series. Kentucky was the sweet spot where they played exactly 3 games. They got to the College World Series.
Yeah. But, so I think the Gators made the right move there. They've just been like in the Oklahoma State regional. They had their backs against the wall after losing pretty convincingly in that first game against Oklahoma State, and then they won 4 in a row there. So they've been in this position a couple times this season. Do I think they're going to get out of this? Probably not. I don't think so. But I think this is a good matchup against NC State. I'm thinking Whitaker is going to go, looking at Dom Fritton's stats. And if you look at it, the Gators have some lefties in their lineup, but Cags has been great against lefties. I think Sheldon's probably been just as good against lefties as he has been against righties. So I'm thinking Whitaker probably goes. And I saw on the message board earlier, that Cags is either going to go 2 innings and give up 6 runs, or he's going to go 6 innings and give up 2 runs. So that's what you're going to get from Cags. You don't know what you're going to get from Cags, but you're probably going to get a homer from him because he is on the mound. I think he's homered in 9 of 12 games he started this season, and I think last year he homered in most games he started as well. I think he's homered in like 80% of games he started at UF the last 2 years. So he likes to hit when he's pitching, even though he hasn't been that great on the mound. He's still hitting, and these games are pretty high scoring. Have you seen the total for this game? I haven't seen anything.
No, I haven't seen anything come out.
I'm assuming they're waiting to see the wind direction, but I could see this being a pretty high-scoring game, like Game 2 of Florida Clemson, where that game was just back and forth and it was a crazy game. I mean, you just got to give it to the Gators for getting this far. Ty Evans went down with a broken wrist. They've had Tanner Garrison, who was top 5 defensive catcher in the country, who was actually just starting to hit when he got hurt for the season. And then Hayden Yost cracked the lineup as a freshman, and then he tore his ACL right after that. So if people don't really realize that, but the Gators have had 3 starters go down with season-ending injuries, and they just been grinding through. I think that they win this game and then probably lose the next game. But my model has this pretty much right in line with the odds at minus 125 Florida. So there's not a ton of value.
Gotcha. Like I said, I didn't fully prep for the underdog, but I think I found a pretty solid one here. And I know you mess with the player props. I know you don't have a player prop model for college baseball, though.
Yeah, I'm hoping to next year maybe, but I don't know yet because, I mean, books only offer in the College World Series and postseason. So it might not be worth it, but it's definitely fun and something fun to do.
So knowing our Gators, your Gators, there's a lot of swing and miss in the lineup. 20th in the nation in strikeout rate. Logan Whitaker's strikeout player projections currently only sitting at 5. I'm going to go with the higher there. He's had at least 5 strikeouts in his last 4 starts. So I think that's the play for me. When it comes to this game, though, the interesting matchup here is Cags actually against NC State's lineup. NC State's loaded with the left-handed bats, and against left-handed pitching this year, 758 team OPS. Against right-handed pitching, it's 941. So you do have the correct arm here on the bump in Cags, ready to go. He just hasn't been in great shape. That's the only thing that's kind of keeping me off of the Gators in this one. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna probably be on an over in this one as probably my favorite pick. When it comes to the game, though, I think NC State's still going to be able to put up some runs. No, I'm gonna backtrack on what I said pre-tournament. I think because Florida didn't really use Neely too much in game 1, he'll be able to come out of the pen for a good couple of innings here and give them length. Florida's probably going to win this one, in my opinion. I had NC State making a little bit of a run here in this bracket too, but I think I'm going to go with Florida. I think that's the pick for me on the money line here. And
I wonder what. So because of these, like you said, that they have a 750 OPS against lefties compared to 900 plus against righties. I wonder. I know Sully's been like pretty adamant about only starting Coppola just because he's been hurt for the last 2 years and they want him on a normal schedule regimen. I wonder if they just have him prepared to go in case Jack comes out and walks the first 3 batters of the game. That's what I'm wondering about. And I mean, I know they don't want to get as much out of Jack as possible, especially losing the first game. And Pierce is probably game 3 starter, but they didn't put him in relief in any of the first 2 games last against Clemson. So that's what I'm curious about if Sully does go with that.
I think I'm with Hasty though. I think like Cags on a home run prop might not be the worst thing in the world. Those props though just have little to no value at all.
Yeah,
the book just kind of tempt you and throw the bait out there. Like
it's like MLB. Like so I do all the dinger props. We have our model sets lines for every single player.
Yeah,
and you're now going to have value on Aaron Judge to hit a home run just because it's at plus 180. Just because the public loves to take it, that the books know that they could get away with having the line a little lower than it really should be based on the numbers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, they kind of get away with it with every player, in my opinion, though. There's not many that you can actually really find the good, honest value. Anything else that you want to add in here on this game? Just doing a bullpen dive, on the surface, both bullpens are kind of equal to each other, but you take the recent sample size that I've been throwing around over the last week for NC State, especially when you just narrow it down to Jacob Duden, Derek Smith, Cooper Consiglio. Those three guys have like a sub-3 ERA combined together.
Derek
But
Smith's been nasty. I gotta say, like his numbers are a little bit misleading. If you watch him in the postseason, his off-speed stuff's been nasty. So I wouldn't look at his numbers too much. I would look at his more recent numbers. He's been really good.
Yeah, that's one reason why I bring it up, because actually, Jake, a flat number, NC State's weekend bullpen ERA is actually worse than Florida's this season. 5.76 for the Wolfpack, 5.75 for Florida. Pretty even there. But yeah, the offensive splits on this NC State lineup that's been rolling lately, they even didn't have the greatest day against Poozer in game one when they had the splits advantage, and now they're going up against the lefty when they've struggled against the southpaw this season. So yeah, I think I feel like I have to flip my pick here and go with Florida. I have NC State winning this. I have a sprinkle on NC State winning this bracket pool, but I think Florida's got a real shot to win this, and they're rightfully favored.
It's going to be interesting because the home teams are 6-0, but I think all those teams have been favorites. So this is going to be the first time where NC State's the home team, but Florida's the favorites. So it's a little bit of a change up here.
Yeah, that is correct. Yep, because I started off 4-0 because I took all the favorites, and then yesterday was the one day that I tried to flip, and I went with Virginia and North Carolina. So yeah, all the favorite. Yeah, 6 favorites, 6-0. I didn't even realize that, to be honest. Before we get to the second game, which should be a little bit closer, I think, or tougher to handicap, with Texas A&M and Kentucky, I want to talk to you guys about Rhythm real quick, because if you're betting on NBA player props, download the Rhythm app. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. On the college baseball experience, we're going through both games here that are going to take place on Monday. We're going to go to the Monday night game between Texas A&M and Kentucky. I'm doing one more refresh on the DraftKings page. We do not currently have totals and run lines, unfortunately, like we have on the previous 5 days now, actually, on these shows. Texas A&M's favored at -140. Kentucky's +110. The reason why Texas A&M's favored here, I mean, Ryan Prager probably goes here today. Schloss held back on not starting him. His worst start of the season was against Florida, so there could have been some valid reasoning behind not starting him against the Gators on Saturday. We haven't heard anything, at least I haven't. Prager's probably going to go here unless there's an injury scare behind the scenes that we are not aware of. So Prager on the season, sophomore lefty, 8-1 on the year, 2.53 ERA, 113 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 85.1 innings with a 199 SIERA. He honestly entered this College World Series as probably the second best starting pitcher. Kentucky's going to go with Mason Moore, I assume. That's been the way that they went in the Super Regional, and they threw Dominic Nyman on Friday, kind of throwing off against the 4 seed in the regional. Mason Moore was used in the regional championship. Moore is a junior right-handed pitcher, 9-3 on the year, 4.93 ERA, 80 strikeouts, 51 walks, and 87.2 innings with a 4.36 SIERA. However, in his career, he's just a big game pitcher. It's a 0.38 ERA in his NCAA tournament career. Jake, Texas A&M -140, Kentucky +120. How do you kind of view these two teams entering this game? Texas A&M, with their best pitcher on the mound, should have a little bit of confidence advantage or boost. It's an unorthodox strategy to not throw your ace set in College World Series games once, but this is nothing different than what we've seen in pool play double elimination formats, where some teams throw their number 2 or number 3 against the 4 seed. They just got away with it against the Gators in game 1, and now they have their ace in the 1-0 game here in Omaha. How do you handicap the two teams here?
Yeah, this is a very interesting game. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm very excited to watch this. But I think that I don't think it's an injury. I think Prager does go. I think it's more because he got hit hard against Oregon. I think he gave up 6 earned runs in 1 2/3 inning, and he had his worst start against Florida. I think they didn't want him to get a little shell shocked there. I really like the strategy of saving Prager for this game against Kentucky. But then again, I mean, it is a little scary because Prager hasn't been as good lately. More like you said, he's a big game pitcher. So Matt Grissom and I were talking, and we were saying how Kentucky, all the stats say they're not.
Yeah.
Analytics say they're not a great team. They're not a great team. Then you watch them, and they just grind out wins. They have clutch home runs. They have great defense. They just do all the right things. Nick Mingione is the SEC Coach of the Year for a reason. Just every small detail Kentucky seems to do right. And as much as the analytics say don't bet on Kentucky, I think Kentucky run line is where I'm leaning here. I think it'll probably be somewhere around minus 140. And that was the strategy the first couple of games where there were all these walk-offs. And luckily, even though I didn't have the winners right, I just went with the run line instead. And these one-run games, it was pretty good to me. I think that I like Kentucky's just bullpen a little better after Texas A&M threw Cortez 60-plus pitches or 50-plus pitches, and Evan Aschenbeck, who's been excellent this year, 50-plus pitches as well. Both those guys went 3 innings against Florida. And I think I like Kentucky in the run line because of that.
Yeah, you're going safe run line. I think I feel good about just calling for the money line too, because Prager hasn't been outstanding in his most recent starts. There's been some cracks in that armor there. I've come across to another, like while you were talking, I'm scanning the underdog fantasy slate here. Ryan Waldschmidt's been in a little bit of a slump, but I think this is a little bit of an overreaction on the player projection. So he's currently being offered at just a half hit. So whether he goes over or under a half hit, or 1.5 hits, runs, RBI. I'm taking a quick look because he is a right-handed hitter going up against a left-handed pitcher that pitches to contact. This Kentucky team's they don't strike out a ton. They're going to put pressure on the defense. Like, they usually set the table with Waldschmidt at the top of the order. I'm taking a look here in the Waldschmidt splits. 1167 OPS against, so he's actually got reverse splits. 967 OPS against left-handed pitching in the regular season. I'm going to take a quick look. Batting 316. So that's probably my favorite look on here.
I'm surprised to have hit. It's underdog, so it's just equivalent like minus 130 juice anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very surprised, especially against a contact pitcher. And Prager was on the College World Series team his freshman year, for Texas A&M before he blew out his elbow, and he got hit pretty hard in 2 games. He only got 1 out in the first game against Oklahoma in relief, and then the next game he gave up 4 runs, 3 earned, and 2 1/3. Oof. So he might be a little shell shocked here. That's another reason why Schloss might have saved him for this game.
Yeah,
so, the
one thing.
Yeah, the postseason Prager might not be a great thing.
I was just about to say that, but I second guessed it because he did pitch well against Texas. Big rivalry game under the bright lights on Saturday night.
Yeah,
he looked pretty good against the Longhorns, but Texas wasn't really anything to scream home about.
I think so. It's maybe the neutral.
Yeah, so. True. Yep. But he was home against Oregon too, and he got rocked by the Ducks. So yeah, Hammond and Hahn going back and forth, but we just know that Prager pitching to a pitch to contact pitcher where Kentucky's going to have some confident hitters coming up the plate. Their power played pretty well in Omaha the first game. They hit 3 bombs in the first game that I know they can hit for power, but that's just not their calling card. Rather, it's like their aggressive base running. They're top 20 in steals per game, but they hit for average. They can hit for power, like we just saw in that first game. And I just think they're going to be able to put some balls in play. And Mason Moore, on the other hand, does not allow balls in play. The knock on him is his accuracy and the zone control. A lot of just lack of consistency finding the zone sometimes with Moore, but when he is on, he has been pretty good, not only this season, but throughout his NCAA tournament career. Like I said, 0.38 ERA on that. So I think I'm on the dog here with Kentucky. That's probably my favorite of the two picks here that we have odds on for Monday's games. So I like the Wildcats on the money line. Run line is very solid too, of course, if you're taking the run line. I don't know if you mentioned it. If not, I apologize while I was perusing the underdog fantasy slate. But what's your kind of feeling on a total? Where would you set it at here for A&M Kentucky?
That's an interesting one. I think a total will probably be set at. It also depends on the wind. So I think that's a big factor. It's like the Cubs games where they're always late to post the Cubs total games because you don't know where the wind's going in really. Yeah, so with the Prager, I was talking more of his more recent postseason starts against Oklahoma's freshman year and then last game against Oregon. But I'm thinking probably 10.5 is where it's set. What are you thinking?
I would be thinking over because I think Prager has respect from odds makers, and he has for most of the season. It's just he's been on a rough stretch here. Kentucky's lineups looks like they've found something throughout the postseason. They've had no trouble putting up runs. Not only in the first game against NC State, where once Heifel got out, they were able to hit two of their really good pitchers in Duden and Smith. But Heifel had their number. And you look at Oregon State, they had so many runners on that they left on base, but they were still able to get the 2 W's against the Beavers there. I would lean over because you also know that the A&M offense has been solid all season long. And I think also another factor that could go into a lower total opening is the Braden Montgomery injury. And I've just not bought stock into everybody saying that A&M's offense would take a dip because we've already seen Caden Kent take a good hack and step up when they've needed him to. So this offense, I feel like, hasn't missed a stride without Montgomery, even though he's a huge hit. Not having him, but yeah, we appreciate the YouTube chat rolling along here. I saw Putter McBride say, "Thank God I finally made a live show." Jake, your opinion of the two games, which one do you feel more confident in? Florida against NC State, Texas A&M, Kentucky. What's your favorite kind of angle here entering Monday's day?
My favorite play. I think the value I like best. I don't like jinxing my Gators, so I'm gonna go with Kentucky. I think it's gonna be a great game. I just because Cortez went and Ashenbach went, I think Kentucky and Sadeo is out for the season. Right, we haven't heard anything from Shooting. He's out for the season.
That's my assumption too. Schlossnagle in the post game pressers has been saying without Sadeo. So it sounds like it's
so
prolonged.
Their pitching depth has been much better than it was last year, but now it's all of a sudden taking a big hit. They kind of went all out winning that first game against Florida to put themselves in a really good position. But I think it kind of hurts them here. I think it's just going to be a close game. That's why I like Kentucky run line. I can see this game going anyway. I kind of like Florida, NC State over, especially. I want to know. Let me look. In terms of Jack, when he pitches, I have data on there. I tell you the totals.
While you're looking, I'm just going to add to it because I think Kentucky's my favorite pick of the two games too. Just you look at Chris Cortez through 65 pitches, Evan Ashenbach through 51. They need a deep, good start from Prager, and he hasn't been able to provide that in his last couple of starts. So if he does get knocked around early, I like Kentucky as my favorite play tomorrow. That would be my hope. if I end up putting money down on Kentucky, I'm probably going to wait till first pitch, because just the way that Kentucky's been all season long, they're not the public darling in the market. Texas A&M is probably going to catch money here, I would assume, because a lot of the early action throughout the week was because of the Braden Montgomery injury and Prager not starting, and that money line tanked against Florida. But I just don't think that we've seen that throughout the year. The public or just the bettors usually have been on Texas A&M, especially with Prager on the mound. So that's what I would expect tomorrow against Kentucky. So I would be taking this close to the first pitch. So what?
Data.
Okay. As I mean, I'll keep going too if we need. NC State is in a peculiar situation here because Dom Fritton and Logan Whitaker, not sure who's going to be on the bump for this. Logan Whitaker, I'm a little bit more cautious about fading because he did have that outstanding start against Georgia. Georgia, one of the top 5 offenses in the country here. Very similar in like the power department compared to Florida, and very similar in the swing and miss compared to Florida. If they go with Whitaker, I'd feel a little bit more cautious about fading.
Yeah, I feel like Whitaker is a profile that scares me more against Florida. Yeah. It's just watching all the Gator games this year. I feel like the Gators do better against higher velocity too. So
because they're seeing it every day in the SEC.
Exactly, especially in practice when all these guys are throwing high heat. I think that Whitaker would scare me a bit. That's why I'm a little concerned in that game. I think the Gators could have trouble barreling up Whitaker. And Fritton hasn't looked that great. I'm assuming Whitaker goes.
Kyler's saying NC State's going to score less than 3 or more than 9.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that statement for sure.
Yeah, that's either Jac's going to go 2 innings or 6 innings. There's no in between.
I'm not sure if this is what Titan means either when he says Whitaker has aura, Fritton does not. Do you think anything plays into Whitaker has pitched in the College World Series stage before? He's been with NC State during 2021. Is he just going to get the ball from Elliott Avent, knowing that, I mean, he's going to give the guy that was robbed an opportunity in 21 another chance here in 24?
Yeah, I could see that playing to it a bit. I don't think Elliott Avent's going to look too much into that. I think he's just going to play his best matchup, and I think right now it's Whitaker. But yeah. I could see that being a big thing for Whitaker, knowing that he has his spot on the mound now.
Yeah. So while you're still looking up the CAGs totals, I mean, your thoughts on the transfer portal? It seems like the Gators are making noise, or at least kind of the rumors are flying around every single day. With new additions for next year's team. I mean, it looks like they're going to pick up right with, honestly, a down year this year. You'd look for them to take a step up anyways. Losing CAGs is a big hit to the offense, but we're bringing back Shelton.
Shelton's draft eligible, so that's big question mark, but I'm hearing that it's a good chance he stays depending on where he's drafted. Especially with his inability to hit the off speed, I could see him just really working on that. If he could just, raise his average from 265 to 285, he's top 3 round player. Right now, he's probably 4th, 5th round. He's not a shortstop at the next level. But I think right now he stays.
To me, he kind of seems like a Fabian, where like defensively there's some question marks, and hitting for average there's some question marks. He could benefit from another year.
Mm-hmm. Judd was also a diehard Gator, right? A local player. So the Gators kind of had that advantage, and I know he wanted to play with his little brother.
Yeah. Peanut Posse saying "War Damn Kitty" with the Wildcats. But yeah, I think the totals here, they're being a little bit cautious with the wind. From what I have kind of the grapevine, I don't have Iveta sent me weather updates because she works with better weather. She sent me weather updates for the first couple of days here in the College World Series. But from what I've heard, the wind's kind of be going to be blowing from right field to left field here for the next couple of days, not only just today. So not sure if that's going to continue. I mean, it's wind. It can change at any point. And last night, Texas A&M, Florida, it looked like it was kind of changing in the middle of the game too. So,
so games where Cags pitches, the game averages 15 runs.
So
scoring games there.
True. He's due to give up a couple of on the year, the 4.71 ERA, but last 3 it's 7.62, and he's due to add a couple because a good sample size of that 33 or 34 home runs have come when he's on the mound. So
he's one guy Florida record, so it'd be cool if he does that in Omaha in 50 less games.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So I appreciate you coming on, Jake. I really appreciate the company here on the show, and also it helps the audience because they're not just listening to me have one point of view on all 8 teams here for the week and a half straight. So I appreciate it. Anything else that you want to throw in for these 2 games for the other side of the bracket that we didn't really talk about too much, like ahead of playing out the rest of this tournament, whether you like North Carolina or Florida State in that game, or if you think it's Tennessee running through this bracket 1?
I think Florida State's the more dangerous team there. Obviously,
the offense has been more alive.
Exactly. It's going to, NC State, especially after the first 2 days of pitching, and not NC State, North Carolina has the pitching depth compared to Florida State here, and that with Dorsey and Arnold going.
Yeah,
but I think Florida State's offense I like Florida State there. And I could see them challenging Tennessee. I know they should have won that game. I know there's a lot of controversy there, but really they should have won. But then also they shouldn't have given up
a lot, 12 runs.
Yeah, exactly. So as much as people say they should have won, but I like Florida State a lot. I don't mind putting a future on them even now with their backs against the wall, but it's hard to bet against Tennessee. I already have Tennessee futures and I have Florida State futures. The 3 futures I have left are FSU, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. And I think Texas A&M is the scariest one.
I would agree with you. I have futures on all. I don't have any on Tennessee. I've kind of stayed off of them. I
stayed off, and then I got it at like plus 800 when I still could.
I was higher than them in the regular season. They were my biggest preseason position. I just had them going over the 17.5 SEC wins. But yeah, this is coming from a diehard Florida fan, and he's talking about the Noles pretty highly here. So something to take note there. Jake, I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and plug away anything that you want here. I follow him on Twitter, Jake Fetner. That's a Fetner last name there. Plug anything away. Your work over there at CBS Sports and Sportsline.
Hey, my team at CBS Sports. We have a show Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Inside the Lines, where we just have our models giving the best value. We use OddsJam to give out the best prices. We also have models and everything. I built some stuff for the NFL draft. Any questions you have, we could probably answer, especially NBA games, NHL games. So tune in.
Awesome stuff. Again, I appreciate you joining me on the show. For the listeners out there that have tuned in, over 280 of you across all platforms tonight. We consistently had over 30 on YouTube, and it's now midnight Eastern time. Really appreciate it. You've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the College Baseball Experience. Adios, amigos.